All right, everybody, what is going on? Yeah, how we all doing? How we all doing? Oh man. All right, good enough. Yeah, you all doing okay? This is an interesting stream topic, in my opinion. Let's take a quick look. So, we've been wanting to do this one for a little bit. Why is Morge basking in the sun? It's actually, I'm not. It's just, I think the lighting's just the way the lighting is at the moment. Does it look like I'm basking in the sun? It shouldn't be that bright. It shouldn't be that bright, but I guess it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Don't worry about it. Um, no, it's not ships. It's not. It's literal ships. It's literal ships. We've already done other ships, I think. Watch the new episode, Morge? Nah, I saw the main clip, which was Kuma punching Saturn, which is it's a good clip, but not good enough that I would want to watch, the whole thing. And I watched the backstory, like the backstory, obviously. Um, but not I'm not uh so into things that I want to watch the just this episode. Once I've seen the main point, you know what I mean? 1 point? No, this is obviously not a 1 point situation. I'm obviously very, very early today. Yeah, it's literal ships. It's literal ships. And let's see if TomTom prepared everything, because he's been on top of this shit. Oh, fuck. I got some shit to respond to. And a question. Oh, shit. Ah, okay. Okay, I see. TomTom, are you in chat? TomTom prepared the tier list for today. He prepared the tier list. The rest is better than the punch? The rest is better than... Really? Because what else happens this episode? Isn't it mainly going to be Kuma showing up? So everybody in chat, we're going to say thanks when TomTom shows up, but also just in general, we're going to... let's say thanks to TomTom right now. Yeah, TomTom is doing... We were doing ships and boats and vessels. So TomTom kindly prepared this entire template for the stream, which I'll show you guys in a second. TomTom prepared that, and then on top of that, seeing on Twitter, sorry about the lack of response for this, TomTom, you offered to make a Google Slides PowerPoint as well with each slide. That's all good, man. No worries whatsoever about any of that. What you've done is more than good enough, and I think these images are pretty cool as well. If we need to get a better look at any particular image, I'll just, I can obviously just pull that up as well on the side. But ships is in relationships, says Meek? No, the opposite. Ships is in like just boats. Like I don't know why that's the opposite, but it's not the opposite. That's not the correct use of the word opposite, but it's not relationships. It's literal ships. Literal ships. Big News Morgan's best ship. What's his ship? I don't think he... Oh no, I think he did have a ship. TomTom gave me a shit ton of options for the ships, but I decided we should only include the ones that are super relevant, I guess, like ones that people can recognize very easily, easily recognizable ships. Because I don't want people being like, okay, what's this thing? What's that thing? You know what I mean? Marco Cadilla, thanks for the 2. Roger and Shanks versus Kaido and Garp. Who you got? Easy Roger and Shanks. Not easy, obviously not easy, but I personally think if everyone's in their... Assuming everyone's in their prime, they have to be, otherwise Roger would just be dead, right? He'd be deceased. Assuming everyone's in their prime, yeah, I mean, I think Roger and Shanks just take it. Again, you can call me... I just think that I think that Kaido is going to get power cliffed pretty damn fast. I view Kaido as like the the weak link here, personally. Because I just think that there's still the possibility that Shanks might turn out to be in the same tier as like Roger, Whitebeard, Garp, and stuff. That's still technically a possibility in the story, but there's no chance that Kaido is. We know where Kaido skills at this point, which is roughly equal to Big Mom, slightly stronger, but his hockey and all that stuff is not at the level of the top tiers from previous generations. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick. All right. Yeah, I think it's an unfair match. I feel like you got to shuffle it. So do like Roger and Kaido versus Shanks and Garp. I still think I'm leaning Roger and Kaido versus... I think Roger and Garp... I think that might be closer to a tie. No, because I think Roger and Garp could cancel out, whereas I think Shanks would probably edge Kaido. I think Roger would edge past Garp as well. It would just be really tight. That would be a tighter matchup, though. I think I'd then maybe lean Garp and Shanks, actually. Kaido is the opening to top tier. He's like the top A-class hero, gatekeeping S-class. Yeah, I mean, my belief is always just going to be like, there's probably a lot... We've already basically been told that. Like, Gaban was literally telling us that there's more to Conqueror's Haki that we've yet to Luffy's yet to learn and everything. I feel like Kaido is basically the opening to learning about advanced Conqueror's Haki, right? Kaido and Big Mom, they're like the level where they're Yonko level characters who can use advanced Conqueror's Haki. I think all of the really skilled Conqueror's Haki users, the ones who can do crazy stuff, are higher. I mean, like, right off the bat, Garp did, like, Galaxy Impact, which is just a totally different level of Conqueror's Haki use than anything we've ever seen before. And this is, like, old-ass Garp, right? So you imagine in his prime, it's just, like, different level. So is Blackbeard's ship C tier? Well, it depends on how you guys want to vote it. Do we have any new characters from the Elbaf arc that doing... No, you know what? I'll do a re-ranking of Elbaf characters next stream. The chapter stream. Let me share this real quick. Yeah. How do I feel about... Yeah, let me do... Because I don't feel like I want to count rocks. I don't really want to count rocks. If we're counting rocks, I'd put him here. Actually, rocks is so cool. I might put him above Loki. But lots of times I feel just recency bias. I put rocks there. And that's the only real important new one that we learned. Rocks, Scoffer, Herald... Yeah, I think for me, a lot of this list is affected by recency bias because, like, I want to put Herald at number 3, but that's really just because we haven't seen Scott or Gaban talk in a few chapters. And Herald has barely had a presence. But Herald's a cool character. He's basically a guy that was, like, the strongest on the ocean for decades, probably a half century or something like that, but gave it up because the woman he loved just told him that, hey, this is wrong. The way you use this, your strength is wrong. Meek, thanks for the 5. Not my idea, but my buddy thinks that Blackbeard is a satellite to Rox's Stella, who died, letting Teach develop naturally. They wanted your thoughts, lol. So, I'm very mixed, because here's my thoughts right now. My thoughts right now are just that I think Rox is a very... I feel like he's a fascinating character for... I'm trying to think of past, like, previous examples of why Oda would go very in-depth into a flashback showcasing a particular villain if that villain is never going to make an appearance in the modern day. Okay, so this is something I've been thinking on. And I'm trying to think, like, in past It's rare. It's genuinely rare to go in depth into a flashback about an antagonist from the past. And I'm not talking just One Piece. I'm talking like anime, manga in general, movies, TV shows, and such in general. Like unless it's like a whole series that's like a prologue series or something like that, you know, like the fucking Star Wars movies showing Darth Maul and Count Dooku and stuff. But those are like a whole series. Like it's very rare for like a story to cut, like a fantasy power fighting action based story or something to cut to a flashback showcasing an evil villain in the past and go in depth with them without that then playing into the current story in some way. That's rare, right? It's usually that's done to set up for them coming back in the present. It's really not common for that to be just a thing that's done as a throwaway thing if you're going in depth. That's what's got me thinking. Because it's like, are we going to go really in depth in Rox as a character and then he's just never a thing again, and what we get in the present day is just seeing Rox's like child, Blackbeard? Because the tricky thing that Oda risks is that with Rox, because he's a character that embodies a lot of Blackbeard's personality, but with some cooler traits written in, that Rox could ultimately overshadow Blackbeard as a villain. Even if Blackbeard becomes stronger than Rox, we might ultimately always feel like Rox was the cooler bad guy. You see what I'm saying? So it's a risky thing. It's a very rare thing. Like, it's the same way that, you know, in Naruto, we get flashbacks about Madara and everything like that. It's not just because it's to give us context about Madara. It's because Madara Uchiha is going to be a character in the modern day as well, right? I don't know of a similar example. I really don't. Can anyone think of a similar example? Because it's really got me thinking. It's really got me thinking. Does anyone know a similar example? Tenply says Harold was a great king, bad father. Yeah, he wasn't a great father. Tenply says, I feel like if Rox takes over Blackbeard, it will be some Kaguya from Naruto crap. So right off the bat, there's no way that can be as bad as the Kaguya from Naruto thing, because we're literally getting a Rox flashback right now. Like, Kaguya from Naruto was like, we heard her name once, maybe twice. Like, we just heard her name. And then all of a sudden she's taking over as the final villain. Drastically different. I would argue that even before the Rox flashback started, just chapter 957 already gave us more information about Rox and fleshed out his character more, right? His motivations, his past, his accomplishments, etc., than Kaguya from Naruto before she turned into the final villain. I think Oda already dropped more information about Rox from 957 than Kaguya ever got, okay? Now we're getting a full-on flashback for Rox. So you could actually make the argument that by the time this flashback is all said and done, it's not all said and done yet, you could actually make the argument, depending on how the rest of the flashback goes, that Rox, by the end of the flashback, will be a more fleshed out character than Blackbeard. Even though Blackbeard has been in the story longer and has had more appearances, quality over quantity, right? You could argue that we understand Rox better as a character by the end of the flashback than we ever did Blackbeard. And we could more clearly see how Rox is in fact responsible for most of the way that Blackbeard is, right? So it would be a very, very different scenario than a Kaguya taking over Madara situation. You could argue it would be more like Madara replacing Obito, which is something that a lot of people loved, right? In that for most of the story, we were dealing with this guy Toby, who turned out to be Obito, as the modern day villain. But then the guy that we really loved was the guy that from the past that got hyped up, Madara. We kept hearing about Madara. And then finally, like, we got context around Madara. We learned about his story and everything like that. Most people find Madara's story more interesting and compelling than Obito's. And then Madara comes in and basically steals the show from Obito. A lot of people actually really like that. I think the Kaguya comparisons are dead. There's nothing remotely similar. What it would be similar to would be the Obito-Madara situation. But the thing is that Blackbeard is also a really phenomenal villain. I don't want Rox to just overshadow him. It's not like an Obito situation where Obito, the coolest guy, is a terrible villain. Blackbeard's a phenomenal villain. I would argue that in general he is One Piece's best, most unique villain that we have, right? He hasn't gotten a full arc to himself yet, so we don't have his full story the way we did with like a Doflamingo or whatever. But Blackbeard is One Piece. To me, he's the most One Piece villain. Rox is just a lot of what Blackbeard was, but more interesting angles being added on top of it, and it's the predecessor, so it's being made clear to us that Blackbeard is the second and Rox is the original. So it's tricky because there is potential there for Rox to overshadow Blackbeard, much like Madara overshadowed Obito. Is there... Yeah, can anybody think of some example of another story where we go in depth into the backstory of a extremely important villain from the past who never makes an appearance in the present? Is there an example of that? Is there an example for that? Normal and unassuming says Firelord Sozin never comes back into the story, does he? That's fair. I think that's fair, but my argument for that would be that I feel like the Sozin episode was more so about him and Roku's relationship. I think it was more important for Roku than anything. Maybe this flashback is more important for Roger than anything, but I already feel like this is more of a... Like, I felt like that was more so Roku's story, and it showed him in contrast with Sozin as, like, the guy that he had to defeat. This feels like Rox's flashback. I'm sure we'll get Roger stuff as well in the flashback. Like, maybe we'll get the whole God Valley incident here, too. But it really does feel like it's telling Rox's story first and foremost. I don't feel like the Sozin flashback was telling Sozin's story so much as it was telling Roku's story, with Sozin happening to be the guy that he defeats in the process. I feel like the last chapter was Rox's chapter, and it might continue in that direction, considering it seems like next chapter is about taking on Full of Lead. Aeneas says, Ares 2 from A Song of Ice and Fire. Do we get like a full flashback for him? In A Song of Ice and Fire itself. I'm not talking about spin-off books. Andrew Anami says, can't think of examples of that because it sounds like incredibly bad writing. I don't even know if it's bad writing or not or anything. Like, it wouldn't be bad writing if Rox just never shows up in the modern day story, but it is not typically done, I figure, because generally if you're putting that much time into a villain, it's for the purposes of that villain being a villain for the story itself. It's rare to just do an elaborate story centered around a villain from the past that never directly plays into the events of the... Like, he's never directly an antagonist for the protagonist in the present. Yeah, Ender Nami saying Sozin was intimately tied to Roku's story. It wasn't a standalone Sozin flashback. And obviously this isn't a standalone Rox flashback, but it does feel like we're getting his perspective, mainly his story. I don't know. I think next chapter is last Rox chapter, or perspective will change to Roger. Yeah, I think that's very possible too. So I'm not trying to get ahead of myself there. It's just, yeah, I've just never seen this before, personally. It does lend credence to the idea that if we're getting this much of the villain in the past, that we're gonna see them again in the present. And Blackbeard Rox taking over Blackbeard's personality, one, they're very similar, so it wouldn't feel like the most jarring change or something, or maybe it would be like a blend of the two characters or something like that. I just hope that Blackbeard himself doesn't get thrown under the bus in all of this, because he is a phenomenal villain. Nobody gave a shit, I think, when Obito got thrown under the bus for Madara, because people were done with that guy. I think people love Blackbeard and want to see him shine as a villain himself. It's just that if Rox took him over, it would be such a perfect final villain. like setup because just the power is there. Because I've always argued that like Blackbeard, he's not quite Yonko level. He's not equal to like Kaido and Shanks and stuff like that with just the two fruits. He doesn't say, not even Big Mom. Just look at how Big Mom did against Law compared to Blackbeard, right? Blackbeard just doesn't seem that Yonko level to me. I've always viewed it as like he needs another fruit. The problem is the further we've gone in the story and the more important we've learned Haki is, to me it's just like, damn, even with a third fruit, can you really just overcome advanced conquerors, like top tier advanced, like Pirate King level advanced conquerors Haki users like that, right? I don't know. But if you pull back Rocks and then say Rocks just in his prime is back, but now he also has Blackbeard's fruits, that's just the strongest character ever, except for maybe Joy Boy and Emu, you know? And that's like a fitting, like at least endgame pirate type villain. And it would feel like Luffy has to go beyond Roger because he has to fight the same guy Roger did, but a stronger version. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick. Marco Cadilla, thanks for the 2. If Ender Anami gets a prediction right, equals 20 points. No, I disagree with that. Hudson J, thanks for the 5. Morge, thank you for the analysis videos and streams. Yeah, thanks for the thanks. Do you think there will be any Haki significance to the road poneglyphs being red? I don't think any Haki significance personally. I think it's just like a simple color-coded way of Oda saying that, you know, we can tell that these poneglyphs are different, have a different type of significance from the others. Dick so small, I piss on the walls, thanks for the 5. The flashback is evenly between Roku and Sozin, half the narration from Sozin's perspective as Zuko reads his letters. Yeah, I think that's fair. So maybe that's a good comparison. Let's see how much further the Rocks flashback... Let's see how much further the Rocks flashback goes, you know? Because it's like, if it turns into a Rocks and Roger flashback, then, you know, it's not the biggest deal. Part of it is just like recency bias because we just got a full chapter dedicated to Rocks. That's pretty unique. It was honestly still shared with Loki. That's just not the norm, you know? Because it's basically Rocks at this point in time has had a flashback that's like just as fleshed out as Doflamingo, you know, in terms of like time spent. And Rocks is like Doflamingo was a modern day antagonist for Luffy in a current day like active storyline antagonist for a story arc, right? Rocks is just like, why are we getting so much story for this guy that was just in the past? I don't know. Let's see what maybe next chapter changes perspectives. We'll see. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 2. Do I think Hajrudin will get a power-up in this arc? I mean, it doesn't even matter if he does, because he's still, like... You gotta understand, like, the way I view it, real quick, is, like, before we get into anything further, right? The way I view it is, I think that there's, like rough tiers, right? I feel like there's some level of equivalence between, like if we say this is like Yonko Commanders, right? Yonko Commanders are this tier, so that's like, you know what Yonko Commanders are, right? Like Marco, Jozu, Vista, right? Let's say we're doing very broad tiers, because a lot of people would separate out First Mate from these things, right? That's Yonko Commanders. Then I got Toby Ropo then I got like Yonko Officers, right? And that's like Toby Ropo, like Big Mom's top characters who weren't quite sweet commanders, right? Like Oven, Daifuku, Sparrow, those type of characters. And I also put Doflamingo's seats here. I also think that if Virgo was on a Yonko crew, he obviously wouldn't be a commander, but he would be somewhere. I think he would rank among Toby Ropo. I think if he was on Big Mom's crew, he would be similar status to like Oven Daifuku. I think Pika, same thing. You know, I think Doflamingo's seats fall into this category. And then you kind of see like a nice little gradation here because like Doflamingo himself would be Yonko Commander category. His seats would be right here. And so this is the territory where I get to like these characters, they would not be top officers in a Yonko crew. They wouldn't make Toby Ropo or anything like that. And this is where I'm putting Doflamingo's lower officers. This is where I feel characters like Gladius and Makvis and shit go. Like, they're still notable characters in a sense, but they're not scratching. They're not like. They're just not in this group. They're not in this group. Like, they're not giving Jinbei like a mid-diff fight like who's who. They're not like clashing with Luffy with Haki like Ulti did, you know? People forget Ulti beat Luffy in a Haki clash and shit like that. Luffy was getting ready to go gear 4th against Ulti in page 1. Yeah, these guys are just here, right? I figure like this is also where like a lot of the weaker members of like weaker Yonko officers would go. So like I feel like Bobbin would go here or something like that, if that makes sense. Yeah, this is where I figure like Yonko's actual legit officers are, and then this is where commanders are. So here's where I put like Doflamingo's lower officers, right? So long story short, where is Hajrudin in the broad tiers of the New World? These are all broad tiers, right? Hajrudin is here. Hajrudin tier. Hajrudin is here because he went literally extreme diff with Makvis. This is where he belongs. And it's not just Makvis. Gear 2nd Luffy one-shotted him. This is Dressrosa Gear 2nd Luffy. Dressrosa Gear 2nd Luffy. All right? So he's not even that good at hockey and shit yet. He's just... This is really, really, really bad. Like, really bad. Like, he's not... Like, understand that Luffy, with all that Udon training and everything like that, even then, he can't just take out Ulti in page 1 easily. Like... Ulti beat him in a hockey clash. Page 1 was taking his attacks. Luffy was ready to go gear 4th on them. All right? So for you to just get one-shotted by, like, gear 2nd Luffy in Dressrosa, before Luffy even is, like, back when he's, like, baby, toddler, beginner level at hockey and shit like that, that's an exaggeration. But back when he's not even that good at hockey, that's really bad. That's Hajrudin's level. And then he goes extreme diff with Makvis. So let's say Hajrudin gets way stronger. Let's say he gets a million times stronger. That puts him like here. That puts him here. It puts him like Tobi Roppo level. You see what I'm saying? I don't think Hajrudin's growth, I'm sure he will get stronger, but I don't think Hajrudin's growth is like him actually becoming Loki's level or Harold's level. I think his story, I think it is necessary to his story, whatever story Oda is making for him, I think there is a point to it that he is not as strong as his father or his brother are. That he's like the black sheep, like the odd one out, even though he aspires to be as strong as them. Does that make sense? I think that's necessary to his story. And I know there's people saying that, oh, he might get Conqueror's Haki and shit like that. There's people saying he might get Conqueror's Haki. Hajrudin's been alive for like 80 years, something like that. However, 70 years, he's older than Big Mom. Keep that in mind. He's older than Big Mom. You guys realize he's older than Big Mom. He's been around for like Whitebeard's lifespan. He's not getting a Conqueror's Haki bloom. That's not happening. He's had like nearly a century to awaken Conqueror's Haki. He's a bum. And the saddest thing about Hajrudin, the saddest thing about Hajrudin is that he has the blood of Harold, like the king and all of that stuff. And he spent like the last he was training in Big Mom's flashback, right? Back when Big Mom was 5 years old. So he's been training for like 70 years. 70 years. And he got to Makvis level. 70 years. It's really, 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 really bad. I think he might be the slowest. He might have the worst growth rate of any notable character. You give Johnny and Yasaku 70 years where they don't lose their physical, like they don't age or whatever. Like they, let's say they age at the rate of giants or whatever. Johnny and Yasaku would take Hajrudin. I think Hajrudin might literally be the worst in terms of growth rate. And you might say, Morge, what about the other giants that he's in charge of on the Giant Warrior Pirates? Here's the problem. Hajrudin was the only dude in that era who actually trained. It was made a big deal that all the other giants have become like peacekeeping and stuff like that. Hajrudin, if you go back to the flashback, he's the only one that's still like battle obsessed and talking about becoming a great warrior and all that shit. You know? He's the only one that's really, really focused on that shit. Like Gerd, she's just running around and playing and shit like that. So it's almost sad that like with 70 years of intensive focus and training, while all the other giants around him basically just chilled, he still just got to Makvi's level. And then there's other giant warrior pirates on his crew who are probably not that far off from him in strength, you know? So I don't think the point of Hajrudin's story is that like he's secretly Yonko Pirate King type level character or something. If he jumped from Makvi's level to Yonko Pirate King level, that would be the largest jump that we've ever seen in One Piece history. Last we saw, he was struggling to carry a moose. So, yeah, that my general thought is basically that, like, I don't think Oda's going to even fuck with the Grand Fleet rankings. I think the rankings that we got are probably going to stay relatively consistent for the story with, like, Cavendish number 1, Bartolomeo number 2. Who's number 3? Is Hajrudin number 3 or is I don't even know who number 3 is because it doesn't matter. It's like either Ideo, Hajrudin, or Leo are number 3, 4, 5. Who's number 3? Bartolomeo, Cavendish, and then one of those combination. 3, 4, 5. Orlumbus was 7? So then who the fuck is 6? Who am I missing? I don't know. And us says, Loki's a freak. Not everybody built like that. Nick Snyder 98 says, okay, then Colin is a grown-ass man by your logic. I've actually, if you go back in time, I've actually regularly, if you go back to the early chapters of the arc, probably the first 15 chapters maybe, I regularly roasted Colin for like literally being fucking old as fuck and still acting like a little child. Being like, Shanks, will you take me with you? Will you take me with you, Shanks? It's like, you're 20 years old. Grow up. Like, what's wrong with you? I don't buy the Giants like, oh, we mature at this rate or something like that. It doesn't make any sense. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. Like, does their brain process things at 3x slower speed? Like, how does it work? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me how that would follow. Like, what does it mean? Like, is everything in the world like, how do they learn? Like, how does learning work for them? Does things need to be explained to them 3 times as much for them to understand the same concept as humans? It just doesn't make any sense. I just don't buy. I refuse to engage with it. Okay? That Colin is 20 years old. He's not a child. Hajrudin is Big Mom's age. Older than Big Mom. He has no excuse for not unlocking Conqueror's Haki. All right, continuing on. Who's number 3 in the Grand Fleet? New X7 says, I can confirm Moore just stated that the giant children are technically adult. Not technically adults, they are adults. They are adults in my eyes. Okay, continuing on. Elijah Petty says, but Oda writes good female characters. Yeah, you know what the most fucked up part about Oda's treatment of female characters is? Is that when he puts his mind to it, like when he puts his pen down and he's like, I'm going to write a really great female character, he knocks it out of the park. He writes phenomenal female characters. And then he's just like, yeah, but you know what? Out of my top 30 strongest characters in the entire planet, none of them are going to be women, except for Big Mom. And she's just this crazy, literally crazy, hysterical woman who's constantly giving birth as her defining character trait. And she's literally known for being a mom. That's her name, Big Mom. What's Kaido? This masculine fucking like warlord figure. What's his like sort of persona? Oh, he's like 100 Beast Kaido, world's strongest creature, land, sea, or air, blah 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 blah. Like he's Kaido the Beast. What's his counterpart? This woman, Big Mom. She's a mom, and she's not even a good mom. And it's like, Oda, are you going to exercise some of your great writing talents of writing phenomenal female characters for this Yonko Big Mom, who is, by the way, the only strong woman in your universe, like top-tier strong woman? You don't even have admiral characters that are women or anything like that. This is the only one you've got, right? Are you going to exercise some of your phenomenal writing ability, right? He's like, no, I'm going to make her the worst written Yonko. She'll be the worst written top tier in the entire story. That's my decision. That's what's so fucked up about how, like, it's not that he can't write, because some shonen, manga, anime writers, right, they're just not good at writing female characters. And you can kind of tell that. Like, who remembers Sakura's last line to Kaguya in the fight, right? Who remembers that, right? Like, Kishimoto, just bad at writing women, okay? Oda's like the opposite. He's actually great at writing, like, Robin, phenomenal. Nami, phenomenal, right? He's great at doing it when he tries. He just decides that he's going to never, ever write a female character who is both, like, extremely strong in the context of the One Piece universe and well written. He's never going to do that. The only time he actually wrote a female character that's strong was Big Mom, and he made sure that she was almost extraordinarily poorly written. So that's the great tragedy. That's the great tragedy. It's that the man could do so much, but he just chooses not to. That's what makes it so funny. Nick Snyder 98 says Boa arguably has huge potential. Let's see. Yeah, and the hilarious thing about Boa is that her defining traits are being beautiful and being fucking obsessed, fangirling over the main character. Those are her two defining traits. When you think of Boa Hancock, those are the two things that basically immediately pop in, which is like, she's known as the most beautiful woman. Her beauty literally paralyzes people. And then she's extraordinarily mean to everyone except our main character, who she fangirls obsessively over and is just love-struck by him. That's the character that he crafted. So you got Big Mom, Luffy fangirl number 1. There's your top 30. There's your two women who would be in the top 30. And Hancock, we don't even know if she cracks the list, you know? Yamato is the tricky one, because then you get into all the gender stuff. But if we just call Yamato a woman, then we've got basically the most delusional character in One Piece. So again, no good like, he could write these characters so well, but Big Mom and Yamato, two of arguably the worst written characters in One Piece, right? And then Boa Hancock, defined by traits that are pretty one-dimensional. Obviously, she's got her past and everything like that, right? I'm not trying to say that Boa Hancock doesn't have, like, a nuanced past and story, but I'm saying her immediate traits that pop out that Oda seems to have written the character around is her beauty. That's her main power. She's so sexy. That's her main ability. And she just fucking is obsessed with Luffy. She just is so in love with him. All right, continuing on. Yamato's literally fucking crazy. Yeah. And Yamato wants to be known as a guy also. Suru. Right, so now we're getting to Vice Admiral level. And not even Vice Admiral like Garp was a Vice Admiral, where it's like, oh, he's so strong. He could have been a fucking Admiral, but he just refused promotion forever. Suru is just a Vice Admiral. She's just a Vice Admiral. She's probably a strong Vice Admiral in her prime, but I don't fucking see Suru on anybody's top 30 lists today. You know? All right. Anyway. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. We're going to get into ranking these ships. All right? And not ships like those sort of ships. Ships like actual ships. Because One Piece has a shit ton of really cool ships. I'm going to go ahead and put Maxim in A. I think Maxim is one of the coolest ships in the story. Shame it was used for such terrible things. Baratier. I don't know how we're ranking these ships exactly. Baratier, it's not what you would like to sail on, necessarily. Maxim is the only flying ship that we know of, right? So maybe Maxim should rank higher? I don't know what we're rating the ships on. Yeah, Doflamingo feared her. I do figure that in her prime, Suru is probably like the top level of Vice Admiral that you can reach without being like Admiral level. But this was also young Doflamingo, number one. Like, this was Doflamingo from like a decade or so or more ago, like 2 decades, like a long time ago. So it's young Doflamingo, probably not in his prime yet. And then two, Doflamingo, even in his prime, isn't necessarily like a lot of people have it like Yonko number 3, maybe Yonko number 2 level at best. And to crack top 30 in One Piece, you need to be like at minimum first mate plus, like first mate level at least, you know? How cool they look and what they can do. Okay, so what do we want to put Maxim in? I think Maxim will be a cool way to... Let's say Maxim is our way of setting the bar. Maxim. I think it's the only flying ship in One Piece that I can recall. So it's definitely not D. JP, thanks for the 10. Missed the prediction stream, but I'm definitely a believer in the theory that Rox and Roger fought on Lodestar over the Rosetta Stone object for poneglyphs that was in the O'Hara flashback background. What? A Rosetta Stone object for poneglyphs in the O'Hara flashback background? Oh, shoot. I'm behind on a couple. Hold on. I'm behind on a couple supers. Let me catch these up. I'm behind on several. So I will get to you all in a second. I got too distracted by the Hajrudin stuff. Missed the prediction, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe that was a thing. Rosetta Stone. I gotta take a look. Let me take a look. I don't know what you're talking about exactly. So it's probably chapter 394 or something like that. Let me see. 394. When does the horror flashback start? Let's see. Let's take a look together, shall we? Okay. No, 392 maybe. Okay. What is it? This is not a Rosetta Stone object. That's just a thing. Okay. I'm not going to spend too long searching, but let me just see if there's a thing that that you're talking about. All right, if you can tell me the chapter and roughly the page or something, then I can take a look into it. But that's interesting. All right, let me catch up on these supers. Zolden, thanks for the 10. A couple years ago, Sawyer had a theory that Blackbeard had the Davy Jones fruit and that Davy Jones was Nika's Blackbeard. Don't think it's true, just thought it was cool. Thanks a lot for the good content. Oh, thank you. And that is a really good theory, because I do believe that that's a possibility. I said before that I viewed there as being like 3 possibilities for Davy Jones, but then people mentioned the Davy Jones fruit possibility, and now I think that that's definitely in the realm of what could be as well. Because I feel like no matter what, at the end of the day, Blackbeard or Rox possessing Blackbeard, whoever the fuck Luffy is fighting pirate-wise at the end of the story, I feel like they have to have a Zoan that is a strong counterpart to the Nika fruit. So one thing I theorized a lot was that there's going to be a dark version of the Nika fruit because people had different visions of what Nika is supposed to be like. But Davy Jones opens up the possibility for a really strong possibility of an alternate route here. So I like that quite a bit. Marco Cadillo, thanks to the 2. Mark, we need points. Just let Ender make a prediction. No, I mean, he could make a prediction, but we're not going to do points like that. All right, seems like... shit. Okay. Seems like Maxim is just going to miss S tier. It seems like the majority are voting it just a little bit. Okay, so it averages out to A. Some people voted at C tier. That's kind of insane. All right. Kajwalti, thanks for the 2. How do we know how much the Strats are learning about FB? Do we know how much the Strats are learning about FB? Flashback? About the flashback? I don't think the Strats are learning much at all, right? Because isn't everybody running ahead except, I guess, Luffy's still there? I guess we'll find out at the end how much they're learning about it. Dick so small I piss on my balls, thanks for the 5. Prime Roger avoided fighting Big Mom. He beat his contemporaries because, like Luffy, the quality of his allies was better. Odin, Tom, Neptune. Just because you avoid fighting someone doesn't mean that you can't beat them. Like, Whitebeard regularly avoided fighting the Marines we saw from his flashback, but he could obviously stomp whatever Marines that he wanted to. It's not like... There's like a lot of times in the story that it's just easier to sneak in and out and get something rather than just fight straight on. Like Luffy, the quality of his allies was better. Because the Maxim got S rank in the poll. New X7, you can't spam. It didn't get S rank. It got 47% of the votes, 48% of the votes, which means that 52% of people voted it below S rank. You got to look at where the majority of people, like the majority of people don't want it S rank, so it's being put in A rank. Be it his contemporaries. No, the majority of comments state that, or the majority of statements from pretty much all pirates established that Roger was just the strongest dude, tied with Whitebeard. Like Kaido literally says that no, it's haki. Like I don't think Oda's saying this in any uncertain terms. Roger conquered the pirate world because he had the best haki. Like that's not really. I don't know where that interpretation is coming from because the story tells you otherwise. Roger also obviously had great allies and everything like that. He wouldn't be able to take on the Rocks pirates without great allies, but it's not like he was weaker than Big Mom or something like that. Neo7, thanks for the 5. Mort, sorry I'm late. Was doing MGS lore for new players. No worries, man. Zach Kreger will do the next Resident Evil live action movies. # invest in Dragon stocks. I do invest in Dragon stocks. Zach Kreger, I still want to see weapons because I'm just really curious on how he what do you call? Yeah, I'm just really curious on how he actually directs. Because it's just so, like, Widest Kids You Know was always directed in, like, a very straightforward manner. It was not some genius directing or something like that. So, it's just really cool to see the transition from just goofy, really out there comedies, sketches. And Miss March, not the best movie for wide audiences. I thought it's funny, but I could see why a lot of people wouldn't vibe with the Widest Kids You Know style of humor on a big screen. But yeah, I just need to see weapons first. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 5. If Emu was female, I'll be disappointed. Kaguya from Naruto showed how underwritten female villains can be. Emu's demeanor has some thinking he is. I don't know. I still don't know about the whole Emu gender thing. There's got to be some reason Oda's keeping everything in a silhouette. Maybe it is Vivi possessed, or sorry, Lily possessed or something. Zolden, thanks for the 5. Since Pirate King tier characters have Yonko level first mates, I could see Ben Beckman being an Admiral tier since Shanks seems to be close to Pirate King tier. No, because I don't think that's a direct, what do you call it? I could see Ben Beckman be, I talked about this before. It's more so about the hierarchy, like the level of, the how strict hierarchy tends to be in the crews. Because Whitebeard was Pirate King tier, but his first mate was Marco, right? Whitebeard's first mate was Marco. It's not like Marco. Like Marco's basically standard, our gold standard for Yonko first mate level, but it's a Yonko first mate level character, right? Generally, from my observation, the 3 pirate crews that are most strict with their hierarchy, right, which is the Whitebeard pirates, the Beast pirates, and the Big Mom pirates. Those are the 3 groups that have like we have our official set of commanders, like divisions, officers, things like that. There is a more strict hierarchy. And like the captains all act as generals. Like Whitebeard's kind of like the general that everyone follows in the war and everything like that. Kaido's literally like called the general or admiral of the Beast Pirates. Big Mom is essentially, she plays general or queen for all of her groups, right? The more strict the hierarchy, the bigger the gap there is between the captain and the next strongest, the first mate. It just follows because that's how stricter hierarchies tend to work, right? Like Whitebeard wouldn't be like King, Big Mom, Whitebeard. They couldn't order someone like end of story Zoro around or something like that. That just wouldn't be a thing. Like, not even order around. Like, he wouldn't just be lockstep. Like, oh, I'm just this is my rank, this is my file, blah 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 blah. Then you shift towards Shanks' crew, which is less hierarchical than the other crews. but they still treat him as the boss, but there's more of a give and take there. Like, Yasop will push Shanks aside and be like, we're going to do this. You see Shanks, like, having more familiarity with the rest of his officers and everything like that. It's more of a friendly dynamic, but they still call Shanks the boss and everything like that, and they still defer to him. And so there you can expect Ben Beckman to probably just be stronger than other first mates, because Oda's scrunching the sense of hierarchy more and making them feel more closer together. Then you get to the Roger Pirates, where like the Roger Pirates were really like close to the same dynamic as the Strahd Pirates, where like they would literally beat up Roger. Like you get panels of like Crocus beating up on Roger and stuff like that. Roger would bicker with Rayleigh and Gaban and stuff like that, because that's why you can have other Conqueror's Haki users on your crew when like you're not being as domineering, right? And there's more of a give and take, like more of a like there's more space for top tier characters on the crew when the hierarchy is not as rigid as something like the Beast Pirates or something, right? So there's an inverse relationship between strength of the first mate and how hierarchical the crew is. The more hierarchical the crew is, like in terms of, just rigidity of structure, the weaker your first mate is going to be. And that's why, like, Katakuri, King, Marco, I don't think that they're as strong as, like, Katakuri, King, Marco, I don't think they're as strong as Ben Beckman. Ben Beckman, I definitely don't think is as strong as Prime Rayleigh. And then you get to all the way the other end of the spectrum, which is the Rocks Pirates, where it goes too far, and there's pretty much no sense of hierarchy. Everybody on the crew talks about how, like, we're not Rox's followers, we don't give a shit about this guy, yada yada. So you've got some really fucking strong characters. Like, you got young Whitebeard on there, you got Shiki, you got all these heavy hitters, way stronger than any Yonko crew, stronger than Roger's crew, right? That's why you needed a giant alliance between the Marines and the Roger Pirates and the Gods Knights to take them down. You got the strongest crew imaginable because you've got the least structure and forced organization and forced subservience there. But even though you got the strongest crew, you don't have a lot of cohesion. And that's why supposedly like the Rocks Pirates all split up as soon as they realized that they were going to fail and everything. There's not that much loyalty to the captain. So that I talk about this in depth in one of my recent videos, but that's just what's so fascinating about the world that Oda set up. Like, you need hierarchy. Like, you need to have like at least a Shanks level sort of amount of following, or like Roger Pirates and Strahd Pirates. Otherwise, you get to the Rocks Pirate end of the spectrum, where it's just like anything goes, and like people are too strong, and people don't give a shit about the captain or the goals. But if you get to like, like Whitebeard's like the father of his crew, right? Kaido, like Big Mom's literally the mother of the crew. Kaido's just like clearly the general. Everybody else is way below him. If you want a crew that's really structured and everybody's very obedient to the captain, then you're just not going to be able to recruit the strongest people. Because Conqueror's Haki users are not going to work for that guy. The only reason Katakuri works for Big Mom is because he's literally her son, but he doesn't even like it. And he needs to stay there to protect his younger siblings and everything. All right, continuing on. Pasty Cash, thanks for the 2. What's good, more just join. How many late points you get? I got 0. Stop assuming I'm getting late points. I'm barely accumulating any points over the last few months. Snap, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 34 months. First stream in months, busy with life. Good stuff. That's good. I hope life's going good. My sister will marry, and my Japanese girlfriend will visit me in Norway in real life for the first time. So happy. Congrats. That's awesome. I hope you got some fun stuff to show her. I'm sure that'll be like a very interesting shift in culture for her. Marco Cadillo, thanks for the 2. If Hajrudin gets Conquerors, 50 points for you, Mork. If Hajrudin gets Conquerors, sure, we could call that 1 late point. New at 7, thanks for the 5. Just remembered, mention you in my new video and started Gachiakuda. He has a lot of things you like: slow burn lore, close-knit friend group, nice power system. Yeah, my friend was telling me to try Gachiakuda too. I've heard so many things about Gachiakuda. I know the anime is probably a few episodes in, so maybe we'll get into that soon. JP, thanks for the 5. For the stone, check 393, page 10. Next to the T-Rex. Okay, let's take a look. There's a T-Rex? I didn't even realize that. Okay. 393, page 10. What are we looking at here? I'm not counting the pages, so let's just look for the T-Rex. Okay, we got a T-Rex. Oh, shit, there is a T-Rex. This thing? Talking about this thing? Is there another shot at the T-Rex? T-Rex here. I don't know. That just seems like a standard poneglyph scribbling to me. So I don't know. Maybe it's a thing. Maybe it's a special thing, but I don't know. Yeah, you might be onto something. Okay. All right. Let's get into stream. Let's get into the tier list. Sorry, Baratier. Where are we putting Baratier? Fan favorite, of course. I'm not letting it go any lower than B. Centrio pieces. Blackbeard being rocks just feels weird. I know that doesn't write like that. Yeah, it's just interesting because Rox's personality is very similar. It's very similar. I'd say, like, Rox feels like a more badass version of Blackbeard. That's the tricky thing. So I hope Oda doesn't make Rox too cool over the course of this backstory, because, like, at the end of it, people might just be feeling like, fuck, we want Rox back. All right, this is another tight vote. I'll give it 10 seconds. But it looks like it's going to end up in A. It looks like we're putting it in A. All right. All right, that's fair. All right, Blackbeard's logs. I feel like there's not much to this, right? It's just Blackbeard's logs. Isn't this just by definition like pretty bad? I mean, I guess it's like kind of iconic in its own sense. I feel like it was cool pre-time skip. I think I didn't like post-time skip when he just like made his whole fleet out of giant logs. I'm always going to say that I'm pretty sure Oda gave Blackbeard just logs as his ship from the beginning, because at the end of the story, like, Blackbeard's true ship, that's both symbolically fitting, narratively fitting, yada yada, his true ship is going to be Pluton. So because Oda always planned Pluton to be Blackbeard's final ship, he didn't want to make like an iconic ship for him beforehand, so he just went with like logs, and it's kind of like symbolic of how Blackbeard doesn't really have sentimental attachment to a lot of things. He just will just use whatever tools he needs to get by. But I think Pluton is going to be Blackbeard's true symbolic ship. So I'm going to put it low, but I mean, let's see. JP, thanks for being a member for 28 months. Same shape and line cuts as the real Rosetta Stone. Okay, let me take a look at what that looks like. I see what you're saying. But, like, why would that be... Maybe it's a thing. You might be onto something. If people look up Rosetta Stone, I see the similarities. Here, let's do the votes. The thing with Blackbeard's logs, I'm not allowing it for S, but people might view it as like, it's so bad it's good sort of thing. I wouldn't vote it high, but I could see why people would. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Okay, so we got a lot of votes for near the bottom. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put it in... yeah, ship basically sucks. I'm going to go ahead... I'm going to pull... Because some people really like it. I figured there's a polarizing one. I'm going to go ahead and put it in C. Because the majority of people think it's above D, but the majority of people also think it's below B, so we're going to put it down into C. Buggy's ship. We don't really see Buggy's ship sailing that much, do we? Ah, shit. Okay. We gotta start rating these like a little bit harshly. Okay. Where are we putting Buggy's ship? You got to be a real pirate to rock ship like that. Yeah. Buggy's ship. Buggy's ship is pretty. It is a very colorful ship. It's got a lot of character to it. Okay, so it's a pretty neutral, it looks like. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put in B. Because a lot of the votes are averaging out to about that, and I feel like it is like a B ship. Like, it's colorful, but it doesn't have that much like story meaning. Wapple's ship I think is kind of lame. I mean, it's actually cool in that it was underwater and everything initially, but I think Wapple himself makes it lame. And plus the hippo design and everything like that, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in C. Flying Dutchman. The problem is that it's Vanderdecken's ship, and Vanderdecken is also, again, very lame. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in D, because it should be really cool, but you got to take into account a little bit about, like, who the ship symbolizes. I feel like it's a cool ship, though, and it travels at the bottom of the ocean. Here, I'll let you guys vote on Vanderdecken's, because, like, I just don't think it means that much. Vanderdecken. Wapple's ship was cool, because if you remember, it's introduced with, I think it's the first ship that goes underwater, so it actually beats out Law's ship in that. And then we're introduced to Wapple's ship with Chess, whichever one of them standing on the ocean, because they're standing on top of the ship, so it has a cool intro and everything. Okay, people are really divided about these fucking ship votes. Are people want it for B? I don't know. It's okay, here, let's do it again. We're just gonna vote B or C. I don't think it's A. Vibov says it's a ship tier list, not a ship owner tier list. Ooh. But that's not right, because then by that logic, Going Merry should be near the bottom, right? Okay, time out. We need to decide on this, because if it's truly a ship tier list, so just rating the ships as is, then this is a different ball game. Because then, like, the fucking Going Merry is going towards the bottom. Blackbeard's fucking logs go to D tier, right? Wapple's ship obviously moves up. Maxim should be near the top. It's not necessarily about which ship you would want to ride or whatever, but, like, what's the coolest concept? Are we completely divorcing the ships from their role in the... Is it a combination of... Is it a combination of the ships as a concept plus their role in the story, how iconic they are, plus a little bit of, like, what they represent of the crew? Here. All right, let's do it. Going Merry is cute. Going Merry is sentient, so that's a good point. That can work in its favor. Okay. Let's first figure out the parameters, and then we'll do some reshuffling if needed. Okay. What should tier list be based on? The ships on their own ships plus role in story / iconic. Oh shit, stream crash. Hold on. Give me a second. Gotta reload this shit. Also, get the stream legs up to 100 real quick. Pasty Cash, that is a good point. Going Merry is an exception because it is sentient. That is a good point. What should tier list be based on? Purely ship design / unique concept, or design / concept plus role in story. Plus story plus iconic. All right. That's a very different situation. Very, very different. Okay, so it seems like people are... Oh, okay, hold on. I'll give it a... This is a very important vote. Very important vote. All right, I'll give it 10 seconds, but it looks like we know the way it's going. All right. Okay, let me make a note for everybody. This tier list... Hold on. Okay, so this tier list ranking based purely on ship design / concept, not on the crew / ship's role in the story, etc. Okay. I think that makes it a little bit clearer. In that case, I'm going to go ahead and move... I feel like I'm going to move Maxim and Baratier up. I think I'm going to move this up. I think Blackbeard's is going down. This is just a log raft. I think this goes here because it's a pretty cool ship. It can travel up and down. Okay, so we're going to do that for the moment. Flying Dutchman, I don't think there's anything special about it. It's just a raggedy ship, right? Let's just put it here. Raggedy ship, it does travel underwater. I don't care, it's just a raggedy ship. Garp ship is just a ship with a dog's face on it, which has character, but it's nothing crazy. The Germa shit, the Germa snails are pretty sick, right? Or they're not. I think they're a cool concept, but I don't think they're that like. I think they're also kind of lame in a sense. It's hard to explain. Like they can scale the red line and stuff, but I don't think I would ever look at that ship and be like, oh, that's cool. Does that make sense? I'd even put it in B. I might put this in B. All right, there we go. So we did some quick re-ranking. All right. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 5. Do you think Crossskill will grow more powerful by recruiting more former warlords like Gecko Moria, Doflamingo, or Edward Weevil? Edward Weevil. I have a theory on that coming out soon. Probably on a solid break week. Not this break week because I got a different video coming out, but probably on a solid break week. So I do have a video on that. So you just got to wait for the video. But I would say yes along those lines. Pasty Cash, thanks for the 2. Going Merry is an exception because it is sentient. Yeah, so we are gonna take that into account. That is a very good point. TomTom. First of all, everybody, let's say thanks again to TomTom for preparing this list. Everybody in chat say thanks. Thank you very much, man, for narrowing down the ships and giving me a really nice list of options beforehand, and being so communicative. And and for cutting out the images for the template. Thank you. Seriously. Everybody shouts to TomTom. TomTom, and thanks for being a Yonko team member for 34 months, man. I bet the Flying Dutchman was originally Davy Jones' ship. Also, I bet he was the first person to eat a devil fruit because drowning is Davy Jones' locker. Yeah, that's an argument. The thing is that from what little I read recently, and I might need to do another dive, but from what I read recently, Davy Jones was historically not tied to the Flying Dutchman as a concept. I think that Pirates of the Caribbean did that. That's what I read, but I might have missed something or I skimmed too fast or something like that, but I think that those are separate. If Davy Jones is tied to the Flying Dutchman, then that means that Oda's pulling from Pirates of the Caribbean, I think. Saint Silvers, thanks for the 5. Prediction meant for last stream. The Admiral Rocks killed was Garp's mentor. It's why Garp was willing to team with Roger. Oh, that's interesting. I can put that down. I don't want to open up the floodgates to everybody putting it. No more predictions for no more predictions. but I can put you down. I can put you down. Here, let me put you down before I forget. No more predictions. That's not opening the floodgates for a bunch of predictions, but I'm going to put you down as one of the predictions. Hold on. Chapter... Yeah, 1156. Okay. What did you say? You said Admiral Rocks killed was Garp's mentor. That's very possible. Killed was Garp's mentor. That's from St. Silver's. All right. Kiba, thanks for the 5. It's the final saga. I know it still gives us clashes / flashbacks instead of fights. Also, he needs to start killing important people off. Mihawk's ship goes up. I think Mihawk's ship is still badass. I think it's still badass. So I think it'll still be voted high. Yeah, I think Wapple's got a cool ship. I think Buggy's ship is pretty cool. Okay, where do we want to vote Germa? I can do votes for Germa. Pasty Cash's spoiler hint. Wait. Wait, is that a spoiler? Is that from spoilers? Is that from... No, we're closing off predictions. Hold on. Is that from spoilers? Can somebody confirm if that's from spoilers or not? Because otherwise it is... We do got to cut it. All right. Here, I'll do a vote. Oh, no, it's fine. Okay, it's all good. All right, but then that means definitely no more predictions for next chat. You can do a prediction, but I'm not going to add it to the predictions list because I don't know who's from spoilers or not from spoilers. Okay, all right, cool. Here, I'll do a vote for Germa. Germa snails. I just don't think snails are cool. I think that's where I put it in B, because snails aren't cool, but the concept of being able to like split apart and ride walls and everything, that is cool. Yeah, I'll just let you guys know right now I'm not putting it in S. But if you guys like it enough, I can put it in A. So we'll see. I'll give it 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It looks like 52% of people had it at A or above. So I can move it to A. I disagree with it though, so we're entitled to change it. Barto Club. Because we're just basing it on design, it's just gonna go in C. The Going Merry is sentient, so I guess it fucking goes into S by default. Mihawk's ship. I think Mihawk's ship is an A. I think this is a badass ship. And you might be like, why aren't the logs an A then? It's just different. Mihawk travels around in like a coffin with candles. It's very minimal, but sometimes this is literally just, there's no concept to this, right? Like a log raft is literally like the most basic, like you're stranded on a fucking island, you need to get off the island, people make a fucking log raft, right? Like it's the most basic. It's like the opposite of even, how do I say this? It's more basic than literally a standard normal ship. Because like a log raft is basically like a prototype that people who can't build a ship would make. Does that make sense? It's like even less creative than just coming up with a ship in the first place, right? Because log raft is just like pre-ship, right? This is different. Because this is like, who the fuck are you? Like, all you need is the candles and like the stuff that makes it a totally unique, different concept, right? Because this is something you don't see elsewhere. Does that make sense? A log raft you see in any sort of story where a character needs to try and get off an island. It's like, well, I'm trying to fucking make a log raft, right? This is unique. You don't see this, right? Because you can take Mihawk off of this. The simple way I would explain the difference. Here's the simple way before people get upset. The simple way I would differentiate between the log raft situation versus Mihawk's like little coffin with candle situation is if you extract the character. So if you extract the character, the log raft is just a lame ship. You swap in any other character, the log raft isn't really cool. It's just like, it's just, the log raft is, we only think of the log raft as somewhat cool and interesting because it's Blackbeard's ship. Whereas with this, you can swap in any character, and if they're sailing around the ocean with this setup, with these fucking glowing green candles and shit, it immediately makes them seem badass. Like, it helps obviously that it's Mihawk, that really solidifies it, but you could swap so many other characters into this, and the ship itself, you're like, oh fuck, fucking Doflamingo is rolling up in this. That's badass, right? You can even take lame-ass characters. You could be like, fucking Who's Who rolling up, sailing the Grand Line or something like that. Not that Who's Who's lame. Let's go actually lame. Let's say, like, obviously some characters are not salvageable, like Wapple. But even Wapple, it would make Wapple seem more badass if Wapple was sailing around. It's like, what's Wapple doing post-time skip? He's sailing around on this ship with, like, just sailing the fucking New World with these fucking glowing-ass candles and everything like that. That's cool. If instead we saw Wapple on a fucking log raft, we'd be like, yeah, that's about par for the course for Wapple. Things really went down for him post-time skip, right? It's the candles that make it work. This is just like a statement sort of ship versus this is just like a lack of statement, if that makes sense. It just seems like you don't have your shit together. The only reason we give it value is because Blackbeard rides it, but this one gives value to whoever is riding it. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Like, this ship makes anybody that's riding it look badass. The log raft only seems somewhat cool because it's Blackbeard riding it. You see, if you put any other character on there, like, if you put some lame character on there riding around on the log raft, it'd be like, that's lame. Like, that's just, that fits the character because the character kind of sucks. They don't really get a good ship. If you put a lame character on this setup would immediately make them seem cooler. And I think that's the mark of a good ship, right? Think about how many characters you could transpose onto this, and it's like, damn, that's pretty cool. Like, even characters that aren't inherently cool. Whereas this, it's just like, again, only moderately, like, we only even think of it as interesting because it's Blackbeard's ship. All right, so this is not Mihawk Glaze, because this is literally just like, it is to some degree Mihawk Glaze, I guess. But it's not Mihawk Glaze because the point I'm making is you can swap out Mihawk for, like, Photoshop in any character into that seat. You can Photoshop any character into that seat. They immediately look cool sailing around on that thing in the Grand Line, right? Just do that little thought experiment. You would have to get, like, real scrubs like Johnny and Yosaku before a character stops looking cool in this ship. So I think the argument stands. I'm going to go ahead and put it over here. Very cool ship. All right. Bonnie's ship, generic as fuck, goes here. I might even put it here in D tier. The Mammoth ship, it's just a ship with a mammoth thing on it, so it goes here. Whitebeard ship, the Moby Dick I think has a lot of personality, so I think it can go into A tier. I think Moby Dick is, yeah, I think it's got a lot of personality. I'd put it here. Well, where do you guys think Moby Dick goes? Put Mary down? But I thought we agreed that Mary's sentient, so Mary has to go up. I'm not putting Mary below, like, the fucking snails and shit. See, with the Moby Dick, I don't know if people are ranking it based on its role in the story. Because it feels like people are ranking it because it's like Whitebeard's ship, you know? Kachwalti says, Morge, every ship is sentient? No, only some of them get Klabotermans. We actually have never met another ship that has a Klaboterman, right? Unless I'm forgetting something. Tom, thanks for the 2. If in real life, Blackbeard's name was Thatch, Oda mixes up pirate lore. You're saying teach instead of Thatch, right? I think it's like, how do you say it? I think it's partly though because just the way that things are spelled out in English or whatever. It's a little bit different. Paul, thanks for the 5. Since cloning is a real thing in One Piece, it isn't inconceivable that Weevil is the actual biological child of Whitebeard and Stussy through in vitro fertilization. Yeah, I mean, I think that there is something to Weevil that we're set to find out. Vibhav says, does sentient automatically mean S tier? Well, I don't know where to fucking scale sentient. I don't know how to scale it. Okay, we're going to do the Moby Dick again. This time I'll just give S and A as the options. Moby Dick. Let's do it again. I mean, the Moby Dick is a pretty cool ship. It's like the biggest ship besides Thriller Bark, right? Yeah, I know in real life his name is Edward Thatch, right? Edward Teach, whatever. And then Oda split that up into Whitebeard and Blackbeard's inspirations, which is interesting. Like Mary as a ship on its own, I think it's got a lot of personality, right? So I think on its own it would still rank high, like decently, just based off personality alone. Like what other ship has like an orange mangrove thing on it and stuff like that? It's just a colorful, vibrant little ship, and the goat head and everything. Okay, we're moving. Okay, Moby Dick, maybe we move around later. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick because we're almost there. Okay, let me do a vote for Going Merry. Going Merry. I'll even throw in B as an option. Have the Strahds had more time with the Going Merry or the Thousand Sunny? The Strahd's time with the Going Merry was from like chapter like 40 through 400-ish, basically, or like 430. 40 to 430. So it's like 310 chapters. And the Strahd's time with the Thousand Sunny, obviously it's like way more chapters, but they get 70 chapters and then they 80-ish chapters, right? Before they exited post time skip, right? And then it's a lot more chapters obviously after that. I guess the I guess in a way it feels like the Going Merry. I think part of the reason it feels like the Going Merry, you know what it is? The Going Merry, the Strahds travel. Okay, so people are saying, okay, so we're gonna average the Going Merry out to A. That's good. All right, sounds good. The Strahds traveled to a lot more islands with the Going Merry. I think that's why it can sometimes feel like the Thousand Sunny and the Going, like they've had the Thousand Sunny a lot longer, but they've traveled a lot less with it, which is interesting. Because with Thousand Sunny, they travel from Water 7 to Thriller Bark, so Water 7 to Thriller Bark to Saboti, Saboti to Fishman Island to Punk Hazard to Dressrosa to Zoe to Whole Cake to Wano to Egghead to Elbaf. So 10. So that is actually a good amount of traveling, right? Going Merry, they travel from Usopp's village, like Serb village to Baratier to Arlong Park. Although technically Nami steals it, so we can even take that off the list. But then Arlong Park to Loketown to Reverse Mountain to Whiskey Peak to Little Garden to Drum Kingdom to Alabasta to Jaya to Skypiea to... Oh, interesting! Skypiea to Long Ring, and then Long Ring to Water 7. I thought it was going to be dead even. Damn, so the number of islands that we've sailed with both is just about the same. And I think that assuming we get like at least what, like obviously Elbaf to Laugh-Tale is going to be, oh, that'd be really cool. Because that would make island number 11 for the Thousand Sunny, which would equal the number of the Going Merry. That'd be really cool. Think about that. The exact same number of islands they traveled to, the exact same amount of traveling that they did between the Going Merry to the Thousand Sunny. That's pretty cool. I wonder, I know Oda plans a million things, but I don't know if that'd be something he planned or if that's just a nice little coincidence. Pasty Cash, thanks for the 2. Is the Mini Merry on the list? I don't think so. The Giants ship, pretty straightforward. It's just a ship, right? Beija's ship, it looks cool. I'll give Beija's ship a B. Don Quixote's ship looks, I can't say it looks cool. I think it looks kind of lame. I'm going to put it in C. The Kuja ship, okay, I think I'm doing this wrong. B should be for just standard ships, right? B should be for just a standard ass ship, right? So some ships I think should just go here, right? And then ships that I consider to have particularly lazy designs I'm putting here. Like the Mammoth ship. And then these ships I just view as bad. I guess the Flying Dutchman's kind of a cool ship, right? So I think the Kuja Pirates, maybe Barto Club, it's a zany ship. It's got a lot of personality. These are ships that are just standard, right? For a marine ship, Garp ship is really cool, but by most other ship standards, it's kind of, I think I like this. And then Law's ship. Where are we putting Law's ship? Dofi's ship is C? Yeah. I think the design is a pain to the eyes, right? It's an eyesore. The Kuja ship, maybe we move up, because, I think their flag is cool. Yeah, I think their flag is cool. We can move the Kuja ship up. Fuck, where do we want to put Garp ship, then? Do we want to put Garp ship A or B? Or sorry, B or C? Kuja's not higher than B. It's actually a pretty sleek-looking ship, though. Maybe Kuja should be higher. Shit, should I just be having you guys vote for everything? The problem is that there's so many close votes with this. I think this is actually, the reason I'm not doing a lot of votes is because out of all the polls that we normally do for these tier lists, I think for whatever reason, the ships are running the closest votes most consistently. It's very rare that I put something out and it's just clearly 60, 70% obvious what people want to go with. I'm getting a lot of 50-50s here. Literally based on 3-4 people voting differently, it would fall into a different tier. All right, I'll give it 5 seconds. You guys figure out what you want to do. All right, looks like we're moving Garp ship to a B. I could see that. Do we want to reevaluate the Flying Dutchman? All right. Yeah, let's reevaluate the Flying Dutchman. Because Flying Dutchman is arguably kind of cool. It's like a ghost ship and everything like that, so maybe it should be higher. Kravis, thanks a lot. When might we see the Sunny Klabutterman? And what personality do you think it'll have? Soft like Mary or hard and rugged like Frankie? So, I'm trying to think. You know what? Because I was trying to think just now, why did the Mary feel like it felt very organic when the Mary got a Klabutterman? And first I thought it was number of islands, but then we counted up the islands and it didn't really add up, right? I feel like there's a bit of a difference in the sense that, so pre-time skip, the Straw Hats were just sailing, right? With no real agenda. They were heading obviously forward through the Grand Line, but they were going where the winds took them. And the story was also much more Straw Hat focused, right? So it did feel in a sense that the Mary was very much their home. In that like the islands are just pause points in their adventure, but their real home is the Mary, and that's where they're really like just going wherever the flow takes them, right? Like it felt like sailing was just this open adventure, right? The majority of the time we've had the Sunny has been post time skip, and post time skip we've been on like a very rapid pace getting from point to point to point because the story takes us on a train, right? It feels like the story's more of a train. So like as soon as they exit Fishman Island, the first island in the New World is Punk Hazard. And Punk Hazard sets up that, okay, now we're on a path to take down Kaido. So it's like everything just moves fast. Like they travel from Punk Hazard to Dressrosa in a day. And the sailing is not an adventure. The sailing is just like the pause between. It's just like they just got to get through that travel to get to the main, like because all of the islands now link together story wise. So the in between is not this really important period of time. So it's like the train is there to Dressrosa, Zoe, Wano, everything's moving pretty fast, right? Once they finish Wano, then we get some breather before we get to Egghead, so that's good. And then, breather before we get to Elbaf. So it's not like a absolute thing, but there was a more meandering sort of feel to pre-time skip where I think it allowed more time to sort of feel like they're all in this just dreamy, like free flow existence together with the Mary being their home that they're traveling together in. Whereas post time skip, it feels like they're all on a mission. Like they're constantly from jump, they've been on a mission, and the Sunny is kind of just the mechanism for them to get from point A to B to C to D. That's not to say I still like the Sunny more than the Mary at this point in the story. It's just grown on me. But for some reason it feels harder to imagine for me the Sunny having a Klabouterman just like that. Maybe at this point I think it would feel natural for the Sunny to have a Klabouterman. I don't know. Flying Dutchman is going into... Okay, so it's just going to stay in C is what it looks like. Because that's where it all kind of evens out to. Meek, thanks for the 5. Since this ranking is pretty niche, I feel like people are voting with less biases, so the voting is more authentic, making it more evenly split. Not going to lie. That's true. That's actually a very good point. That's a really, really good point. Canute Worgen, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 13 months. Does practicality come into play for rankings, or how good they'd be for actual sea battles? Also, when Roger told Tom to build enough deck space for a giant egg, why did he comply? When Roger told Tom to build enough deck space did Roger actually tell him that? Did Roger actually tell him that, or am I forgetting something? I don't think Roger told him that. I think it just worked out that way. What was I thinking? The giant egg is still a big mystery. I wonder if that's involved in what they fought over. I forget the timeline. And as for does practicality come into play? So for a moment, I was thinking that we should just do it based on like which ship would actually be coolest to travel on. But I think that would really, really, that would make it almost too boring. Because it's like, then cool ships like Mihawks would go way down. Ships that are more design-oriented, like buggies, would go down. I think there's a lot of cool ships here that would suffer if we're just basing it off of practicality. And I know you're not saying just practicality, but like we can include practicality as part of what makes a ship unique, right? Like, so the fact that Germa ship can like travel up walls does make it like that is a point in its favor. The fact that it's like lame ass snails knocks it down a little bit, you know? So Maxim, obviously the fact that it can fly is the main reason that it's up there right now, you know? Barto should be lower. Yeah, because it is a lame ship in that sense. So these are good ship designs, I think. And then these are standout ships for various reasons. So either like Wapple's ship for being able to do that shit, or Germa. Like, these are ships I don't think their designs are that good, but they have really special capabilities. This ship, I think, has a very vibrant design, so I think it's kind of cool. Going Merry, obviously, Mihawk's ship. Okay, Polar Tang. I think this is an S tier ship, right? Pretty unique in the world of One Piece. The Sea Train, I think that's an S tier ship. I think the Big Mom Chanter is an S tier ship. Queen Mama Chanter. Do you guys disagree with these? Polar Tang is B? Okay, I feel like I should just do... Fine, let me just do the... Let me just do the polls, because I guess sometimes I think I know what people think is good or not, and then it turns out I'm wrong. Let's do the Polar Tang first. Let's do the Polar Tang. All right, we'll give it 5 seconds. Five, four, three, two, one. This is tight. We're going to keep it in S. I know it was a tight vote. I think Sea Train deserves to stay in S. It's the Sea Train. Like, that's one of the coolest things in One Piece, you know? Queen Mama Chanter. I think Queen Mama Chanter is only S or A, because it's the only other sentient ship, you know? I think the design is phenomenal. I think Queen Mama Chanter is an easy S. If we got Moby Dick here, I think this is one of the coolest ships in One Piece. Right? I almost want to drop Moby Dick out of here. I think Moby Dick should probably stay in S. Sorry, I'm watching a movie playing on the other screen. Chanter's easy S. Sea Train is A. Yeah, I know you voted Moby Dick S, but it was a tight vote. Okay. Okay. The Red Force. So even if we remove it from its association with Shanks, I think it's like here. Like, I think it's similar to the Kuja ship in that it's just a cool ship, you know? I really want to drop these two. But it's just because their designs are lame. They're good ships. Like, this is a very unique concept. It just looks lame. It should be an A. Yeah, we're going to keep it. The Rocket Man is also going in S, because it's just like a crazier version of the Sea Train. Rocket Man also goes in S. This is just a Blackbeard pirate ship again, so we're going to get rid of that. Foxy's dumbass ship. We're just going to put this in C. Ace's ship was sick. This is an easy... I think this is an A. It's like a cooler version of Mihawk's. Obviously, only Ace can use it, but it's really cool, right? I think that goes here. I almost want to put it here. Let's ask, where does Ace's surfboard thing go? Ace's, I don't even know what you call it. Ace's ship. Yeah, should we just put an S? I think it's just an S. I kind of want to drop Baratier. Because, like, a restaurant ship is obviously cool, but it's not that unique in the grand scheme of things, right? Yeah, we're going to keep it an S. I kind of want to drop Buggies. Mr. Two ship. Put that in C. Noah. Noah is actually a... that an S tier ship? Roger's ship was cool. It just had a lot. It has some majesty to it. I think Roger's ship is like an A. Mr. Crescent, thanks for the 5. How much of the Atom Tree will Pluton use if Frankie builds it? A branch or two, or a large chunk of the base? I hope it's massive. I don't think it'll be that huge, because I think it'll still be... It still needs to feel homey for the Straw Hats. So I think it'll just be like one little... Like, not one of the full-ass branches, but like a branch on a branch. You know what I mean? Put the Mary down, too. You guys voted the Moby Dick up there. I think I'm seeing the vision now, though. I feel like Moby Dick should go down. I don't know. Rogers is C tier? I think Rogers looks cool. I think it looks sleek. I like Rogers. Here, I can compromise and put it in B. How about that? Is this the Usopp Pirates ship? Or no, this is the Tontada ship. Let's just go ahead and put this in D. Okay. Thousand Sunny, obviously a really cool ship. It can fly, it can shoot Gaion Cannon, it can do a lot of shit, right? I think the design is lame. I'm not gonna lie. I think we're really used to the design, so now we find it charming, but I don't think I was excited when the Thousand Sunny was first revealed. Precisely because it was kind of like, what is this thing at the front? It's like a lion / dandelion / sun. But now we find it charming. And I think you take that into account too. So Thousand Sunny obviously goes up there. Thriller Bark. That's definitely up there. Kid's ship is really sick. Where does Kid's ship go? What is it? The Victoria... I'll just call it Kid's ship. Victoria Punk. Yeah, I think solid A. Solid A makes sense. Okay, we're gonna do some re-ranking shortly, so everybody just hold on to your opinions. Dragon ship, it does look pretty cool to me generally. I'm gonna put an A. We're just leaving Blackbeard's final ship. Here, we can even swap out for his new one. Doesn't make a difference. Okay. So, my first thoughts, I feel like every ship up here has to feel pretty special in its own right. I kind of want to drop... Like, these are really special ships, right? Like, Maxim, obviously, Polar Tang, cool submarine, operates in a way that's a lot more... Like, Sea Train, Acer ship. Like, these are ships that operate very differently. Or you got the Big Mom, which is... Big Mom ship is low-key the coolest traditional ship design. Like, it's a very intricate traditional ship design. Like, you can't really compare, like, Thriller Bark or whatever, but it's the coolest traditional ship design, and it has the singing aspect and the being a live aspect. Moby Dick, I feel like, is in here because of the story, and I guess you could argue Noah, too. So, I kind of want to drop these. I feel like I want to drop Buggies. And I want to drop Wapples. The Germa is a cool concept, but not cool in a way like these other ones are cool. Okay, what stands out? What do we want to change? Pasty Cash, thanks for 2. Kuja A, Germa B. Kuja do have a cool ship. I'll put Kuja there. Like, Wapple's ship, I feel like if it was by someone that's not Wapple, we'd vote it higher. I'm going to go ahead and put it B, though, because, you know what? It's hard to shake our memories of it. B ships are basically, like, Standard solid ships without bad designs, they have solid designs, right? These ships actually have cool designs or some unique aspect to them. And then these ships are like One Piece's best stuff. But Noah, I don't know if Noah's just big, right? Do we want Noah in there? Yeah, Oof says Moby Dick is not S, it's just Whitebeard's ship. If it was like Orochi's or Stelli's, no one would give a fuck about it. Yeah, that's the thing. Noah S.A. I'm not gonna give Noah an option for B, but because I don't know. It's tricky. It's just like a really big ship at the end of the day, right? But it's kind of cool. It's the biggest ship in One Piece. It's bigger than Thriller Bark, I think. We can do a revote on Moby Dick because I think it got more competitive now that we've got all the ships down. Okay, people are saying drop Noah. I agree. Okay, we'll do a revote on Moby Dick. I remember Moby Dick was a very close vote in the first place. Yeah, I just don't feel like it belongs in the same tier as like Big Mom's ship. But it still feels like it should be higher up than... That's the tricky thing. The Moby Dick feels to me like it should be higher up than like the Kuja Pirates ship, you know? I'm dropping the Kuja Pirates back to B. And you know what? Fuck it. I'm dropping Wapple's ship to... Nah, I'll keep it in B. I just don't feel like Moby Dick and Kuja Pirates ship belong in the same tier. But they are... Just pretty cool, because then I got Dragon ship there. I guess Moby Dick is like towards the top of A, but this isn't even really ranked. Pasty Cash says, let Chad vote on that ugly ass snail. The thing is, this you can't go by the photo though, because like the hold on, Jerma ships. Because what you got to remember is like, so this is actually what it is, right? So it's really this. This is what we're voting on. This is the ship. Like the snail is just a piece of it. You see what I'm saying? So it's not really a fair... Because I think people would vote this at least in A, you know? The snail is just like the inner workings of it. I think with this in mind, like that's the problem. We just have the snail as the image. No offense to TomTom. This is very helpful the way you arranged it. And this is a way to make it look more clearly like a ship. But we're not actually voting on this. We're voting on this, you know? And this is pretty cool for a ship. This is like a trap. Like, this is not that far off from Thriller Bark. You know what I mean? So if anything, this should clearly stay in A. I think just the fact that it's run by snails keeps it from S. So I'm not going to allow it to go lower than A. I veto that. Because, again, if we had this image up, I think people wouldn't vote it for. Like, it's an entire moving kingdom. The kingdom itself has, like, its own quaint, unique design. I think it should stay in A. This is just not a flattering view of it. Yeah, it's a foldable moving kingdom that climbs the red line. Yeah, this is just not going to look cool. But again, maybe if we'd use this, the images are going to affect people's view of things, because if we'd had this image instead, I think people would look at it more favorably. So I think this is pretty clean. Like, is there anything that people feel should be clearly moved? I think these ships are all pretty cool in their own right, but these ships are like sick. right? Like Thriller Bark, a whole island that's being traveled around as a ship, right? Thousand Sunny, no explanations needed, most versatile ship in the series. Rocketman, Sea Train, really, really cool concepts. Obviously, Studio Ghibli did it first, but still, really, really cool concepts. One Piece versions of them. Queen Mama Chanter. Like, in terms of traditional ships, Queen Mama Chanter is the only one that I view as, like, comparable to Thousand Sunny in terms of how uniquely thought out it is. Everything else is its own sort of thing. Like, the Polar Tang, the Maxim, like, underwater ship, flying ship, underwater ship, aka submarine. Ace's thing, right? These are all cool. Either cool concepts, really cool ship designs, whatever. And then these are like what the standard of what I'd expect of like a One Piece effort ship, you know? And then these ones are just designs that I don't think hit and don't really have anything particularly special about them. And this is just bad. Is there anything? So let's start with B. Is there anything in B that we strongly feel should be higher? Tom says Mord, Swap Garp and Flying Dutchman, but we voted on the Flying Dutchman, unfortunately. We voted on the Flying Dutchman. Yeah, we voted on the Flying Dutchman. The list is too biased. The Merry and the Sunny are getting carried by the Straw Hats. That's true, but like the Merry's sentient, so like that's part of its concept, as people pointed out. And the Thousand Sunny, I think it stays in there because it just it has so much. Like it's the only ship that has an aquarium inside of it, a garden, and like mangrove inside of it. It has coup de burst, which automatically makes it like the only other flying ship besides Maxim. It has the Gaon cannon. It has the Mini Mary. It just has so much stuff to it, and it's made out of the Atom Tree, so it's like the most durable of all of the ships. I think there's so much going for it that I think that it should probably still be an S tier, I guess. But I agree, if it wasn't the Straw Hat ship, it would just be the most elaborately thought out ship with the most tricks in One Piece, which I think still matters. Because like Law's ship just goes underwater, you know? The Going Merry has like a million other things to it, and we want Law's ship in there. Tom says, I made the tier list, my vote counts as more. That's fair, but I don't know if I can. I can't move Garp's ship down. How about I move Flying Dutchman to the top of C tier? Although most tiers aren't really ranked. I think, again, people are getting too caught up about the snail. The snail visual. It's the Germa Kingdom as a whole is what we're really ranking there. But I think it's just lacking a cool factor. You know what I mean? I don't think there's anything that's not an S tier that needs to be an S tier. Because just having a good design doesn't get you to S tier. You need like the cool design or like a plus capability or some really cool, unique capability, I think. Tom says Garp ship is literally a marine ship with a dog head. Yes, but the dog head is pretty endearing. I think I like the dog head better than... I think some of these are kind of misses, you know? Like the flamingo... Why do I like the dog head better than the mammoth? I think the dog head is just endearing. And plus, I think being a marine ship that also has like some personality to it does inherently make it unique. You get a bit of a buff because it happens to be a marine ship. You know what I mean? People told me I had to put Roger's ship in B. I think we voted on that one. I forget. Yeah, I don't think there's any other major changes that we want to make. Garp's ship is literally a Navy ship. That's true, but I don't think the design is bad. Vote on the Flamingo? I don't think the Flamingo's good. Fine, Don Quixote's ship. I think the Flamingo's an eyesore. The Giant Warriors Pirates? Yeah, that's this ship. I think they've got a really good ship, actually. It's a pretty good looking ship. All right, so Flamingo ship stays. Okay, next step, we're going to be voting on the best ship in One Piece. So you guys know the drill. We're going to be doing these 4, and then these 4, and then pitting everything against one another. All right, everybody. Y'all ready? The time has come. Passy Cash says Kuja A, Germa B. I think I already addressed this, but like, and let chat vote on the ugly ass snail. We already did the vote though. We already did the votes that actually dropped Germa down, but then I boosted it back up because Germa Kingdom is pretty unique. And again, I think it's just the snail is not the main takeaway. Germa Kingdom doesn't normally look like that. All right, here we go. We're doing the poll. Best ship in One Piece. I'll tell you guys what I think is best afterwards. What's Ace's ship called again? I'll just call it Ace's jet ski. Ace's jet ski. Hell, where's the Red Force? Red Force is here. It's in B tier. I could see it in... I could move it here. I think it's got a cool design. I could move Red Force up. I just didn't see much people talking about it. Ah, people are really liking Maxim. It's got over 50%. All right, Maxim with a dominant win. Order was Maxim, then the Sea Train, then the Polar Tang, then Ace's Jet Ski. All right, and next up we got next round. Sunny and Thriller Bark. Ooh. All right, this one's tight. We might do a re-poll of this one. Seems like Thriller Bark's taking it, but we're gonna narrow down the options after this. Because right now it's Thriller Bark winning, then Decent Gap Thousand Sunny, then Queen Mama Chanter, and then Rocket Man. So I think we might just go, but Thousand Sunny keeps making a comeback. All right, we're gonna do Thriller Bark versus Thousand Sunny. Yeah, we're going to do Thriller Bark versus Thousand Sunny. Here we go. All right, Thriller Bark versus Thousand Sunny. And then the winner will face Maxim. This is fucking tight. All right. You guys get 10 more seconds to vote. Actually, no. You know what? With the vote being so tight, because it's going back, well, it's going back and forth. With the vote being so tight, and it's by the smallest margins, and we're at the finale anyway, I'll do all 3. Best ship in One Piece, final round. Okay, we'll throw in Maxim, Thriller Bark, and Thousand Sunny. I think that's the most fair way to do it. Because if it's that tight, then I just want to see what happens if they're all together. All right? All right, everybody, get ready. Right? Best ship in One Piece. We got Maxim, Thriller Bark versus Thousand Sunny. I'll give it 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. And the winner is Maxim. All right. The winner is Maxim. The Thousand Sunny did get very far. If I were to vote what I think the coolest ships are in One Piece. So you guys voted Maxim as the best ship in One Piece, followed by Thousand Sunny and Thriller Bark. My ratings. This is tricky. Because I actually don't care for Maxim that much. I think because I don't like the design that much. The design feels a little boring. Like, that might be silly because, like, the ores are very unique and the gold aesthetic. But to me, it's just like a big wooden ship. So there's not something... I don't know. I don't love Maxim's design that much. I think Thriller Bark is, to me, the coolest ship in One Piece. It's also the only storyline I think that takes place on a boat. It takes place on a ship, technically, I guess, in a sense, the entire arc. Thriller Bark's my favorite. Thousand Sunny's impossible for me to rate. I can't really rate it accurately. I guess I rate it really high because it's just too much sentimental value, right? I got Maxim above the Polar Tang. I got the Sea Train. The Sea Train is one of my favorite concepts in One Piece. I really love that section of the story. I know it's not the most unique. Like, I know it's not the first thing to do the Sea Train, but I just love the Sea Train. And I think I watched this before I finished Spirited Away. Funnily enough, when I was a kid, like elementary school, Spirited Away played on TV. And I would get through the beginning part where the parents are being turned into pigs and everything. Like they're in a deserted market or whatever, deserted little area. It already feels really spooky and scary. And then the parents start turning into pigs. And she's freaking out. And that whole scene was scary to me. So as a kid, I would turn it off. So Spirited Away, I didn't watch the full movie till later. Like years later. But One Piece I got through by the time, like I was caught up to Water 7 by the time I was in 6th grade. So for me, I experienced the Sea Train first there. So I always loved the Sea Train a lot. I got the Sea Train high. Sea Train and Rocket Man, interchangeable, right? Sea Train, Rocket Man. I think I got the Polar Tang the lowest out of these. I wouldn't even put Polar Tang in here. I'd keep it in S tier. Got Queen Mama Chanter. I like the Queen Mama Chanter better than Maxim. Yeah, these are my favorite ships in One Piece. I think I just never found the Maxim that cool, even though it is cool. I think I just didn't care for the ship's design itself. It's a flying ship, all the oars and everything. It does have a cool design. It's just maybe not my cup of tea. And I hated NL as a character, so I probably have a negative connotation to it. Obviously, he's a cool villain, but like I just really hated him during the time span of the arc. Big Mom ship, I just always think is a really cool ship. Yeah, Thriller Bark. I think this is how my lineup would kind of go. Of my favorite ships in One Piece. Yeah, something like that. I think Polar Tang is not one of my favorites, so it would drop lower. But in terms of just coolest ships, it would still be high. Mavahad Sadegi, thanks for the 2. Germa, a partition Thriller Bark that climbs the red line. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a really cool concept. I think it suffered in our polling just because we went with the snail image, and I was showing people earlier that, like, no, it is a kingdom at the end of the day. Like, it is a really cool ship. I think there's just something about the fact that it's snails that doesn't feel exciting. Conceptually, it is one of the most creative ships Oda's ever done, for sure. Like, you don't see that in any other story, right? So conceptually, it probably should be S, but like this is a lot of feels-based stuff, so the image of the snail just doesn't help it. So I did not allow it to go anywhere below A, because some people were saying drop the Germa ship. I kept it in A out of respect. But, the people did not vote it for S, so it's just not an S. Yeah. All right, everybody. All right. Yeah, Spirited Away was scary as a kid. I think Spirited Away, at least that opening scene, is very scary as a kid because when you're a kid, one of the scariest things that can happen is like just being in a like deserted area and like your parents are like taken away from you like that in like a very traumatic fashion where you don't know what's happening and like it's all scary. Like it's they first they go off the beaten path. They go down like to this very obscure, like clearly like cut off area from the rest of the world. So it's already kind of spooky. And then having that happen to your parents in front of your eyes is like that's a scary scenario when you're a kid. Because it's just like it just is a scary scenario as a kid. And then you're just like in this ghost town with your parents turned into to animals and stuff, and you're freaking out, and you don't know how to get back, or you don't know how to get away, or you don't know how to do anything. So I maintain that Spirited Away is a scary movie for like if you're a little kid. All right, everybody. Do the One Piece quiz, Jack the Busted, and eat Nitro Gummy Bear if you lose. I'm not gonna do that right now, but that sounds funny. Can you tell me what? Okay, I'll look that up. Who's Jack the Bus? One Piece quiz. Maybe we do that another day. World's hardest One Piece quiz versus pro. Okay, I'll put that down as a little stream idea. Maybe we can do that another time. All right, everybody. This was an interesting stream because I think people were just maybe it's a good point. Like once you take agenda out of it, the voting gets very, very tight based on just what you think is a cool ship, cool vehicle, or whatever. So this was one of the streams with the tightest voting margins that I've ever seen. So interesting stuff to see. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This was a fun stream.